In the 1.8.0 release of VividCharts, we've made some changes to this scaled report workflow. And as a reminder, a scaled report is this mechanism that we have where you can create a template and then point that template at different records so that it automatically creates consistent reports based on the template. One of the popular use cases we find is project status reporting. So if you set up this template, you can point it at your project records, and then VividCharts will automatically generate and update all of the project status reports for the records that you choose. So we're making some changes in the 1.8 version because we heard from some customers that setting this up and making changes to it and managing it can be a little confusing at sometimes. So we're looking to ultimately streamline this process and make it easier to manage. So for the sake of this demo, let's pretend that we want to create a project status report. And at the end, it might look something like this. Let's just use this as a point of reference. But for the sake of our demo, we'll keep it pretty simple. So here I am in VividCharts. This is in, what you're seeing here is the 1.7 version, and you can find that by clicking on this little eye icon up in the top. Okay, so we want to go through the process of creating a project status report. To do that, we'll start here, create something new. We want to click Scaled Reports. We know that's what we want. And this drops us into the editor and we can see the Scaled Reports workflow tag up here. Okay, so we are all good. Let's get started by drawing, again, for the sake of the demo, we'll keep it really simple and just draw the project name. So to do that, we will choose a field selector chart and define a table. We'll choose project, PM project is going to be our table. Okay, so now we have to give it a set of parameters. This chart takes a record, and for this case, down the line in this process, we'll choose which records to actually generate a report for. So for all intents and purposes, this selection right here does not matter. So we'll just choose that one. Column 1 field, and then we will draw the name of the project and click Save. Okay, so Cloud Management 3.0 is the name of our project. Let's just change a few things here to make it distinct from the other one. Make the container yellow to make it stand out. So at this point, this is largely how we want it to look. We will save this, we'll publish it. But again, we know we want to make a scaled report, and in this version, the system still needs a way to understand this as a template for a scaled report. So to do that, we'll go up here and click Save Template. So it's prompting us to save this as a scaled report template, and it knows it's a scaled report template because we're in the scaled reports workflow. So we have to select a process area here, gives us some information there, and we know it's the project process area. So next it's going to, because we selected the project process area, it gives us some default values here for our table mapping. And what this basically says it is, if there are other charts drawn in this report that reference a different table, this information is how that table maps back to the parent table, which is PM project. So for this case, for this demo, we don't need to change any of this, but this is how you can configure some of the data in the summary process in the scaled report process. So we'll click next here, and then we got to give us some information. 0.7 test demo. Okay, so we're good to save this. And it does prompt us to hit the save button to maintain the template and view relationships. So we will do that as well. Okay, so here's our template. We want to continue down the process, and that means that we have to go create our summary. So to do that, we have to go back to the home page. Under apps is where we do this in the project status hub. So if we click this, we can see this button here, summary templates. We can go and see our templates that we've created. There's the one we just made. And to create it and generate the reports, we actually have to go through this summary builder. All right, we don't have any information yet, so we're prompted to configure it. And this is where we set up what gets generated. Project is the process area. 1.7 test demo is the template that we just created. That's good. We'll select that one. Card template is how things will appear on this page once we generate them. So this will be an index of all of the projects that we've created. This one looks fine. You can use the little eyeball here to get a preview, and you can format it in some different ways with different information. We'll choose the first one. Now we have to set up our pre-filter. Our pre-filter basically determines which records will have a report generated. So I can see right now, if I don't change anything here, I'm going to have 64 records generated. I want to bring that number down a little bit just for the sake of the demo. And so we'll say the project manager is Paul. Okay, yep, 19 records, that's good. We'll go there, and then we have one more piece of information to define. It's how often the information should be refreshed. And in this case, we are going to say on demand, which means we have to manually update it, or someone has to prompt it to go get the latest information. So 19 records, we can expect 19 reports to be generated. We'll save that, and we get the confirmation that it's generating. We'll give it a second and let these generate. Okay, so here are our project status reports. If we take a look into one of them, we can see that this one is Acme Workdata Payroll Automation. Take a view, take a look at this one, and here it is. So you can see that it references our template, and it injects the information from that specific record that we told it. Same thing here. We can go see the concept in action. Same format, but with the information that we defined. Okay, so successfully created. Let's, for the sake of the demo, say that we got feedback from one of our stakeholders that something wants to change about this report. Let's just say the background color. So we need to go change that. The way that we do that is not super clear in this workflow. So what we need to find is ultimately the report that is feeding the template that is being consumed by that summary. So we need to go find that. And unfortunately, it doesn't make it super clear which one that is. Yeah, there's only two here. This one is the summary. This one is the view. I know we're going to need this one, but you can imagine that this is challenging if there are dozens or hundreds of objects here in your instance. So we know we need to go here. We'll change this. Let's just say, for the sake of contrast, we will make it green. We'll save that. So we've saved this view, but we haven't yet done anything to the template that is being consumed by the summary builder. So to do that, we have to go click Save Template and update the existing template. So this template already exists. We just made a change, and now we need to update the existing one. We also have the option to save as a new one, but this one, in this case, we just want to update it. So we'll do that. Again, we're prompted to save to maintain the view and template relationship, so we'll do that as well. So let's go back now, and we should see that if we want to view our summary, go into the editor. This is being generated because the template has accepted a change. Okay, so let's take a look at one of these records now. We should see that it has indeed updated to the change that we made in the template. And we see that the data has been refreshed by the system. So that is the workflow in 1.7.1 and before. And again, just did that to illustrate how some of the things that we're hearing from customers about that being a bit challenging to perform. So let's flip over here to this version, which I have loaded with the 1.8 version of VividCharts. So this represents the new workflow to produce the scaled report. So same use case, same pretend use case, we are going to create a project status report, and we know that's what we want to do. So same thing, we will go and create something new. We'll click Scaled Reports, and now we land in this new space. So this is the space where once we generate things, this is where the cards will appear. And so we can see that nothing has been generated yet, but we're prompted to get started by editing the scaled report blueprint. And that's over here. So I have access to this edit panel because I have edit access on this scaled report. I just created it. And I also have the builder role in the system. So I can collapse this and get this out of the way, but here's the information I need to go and create things. I can change the title and the blueprint. If I click into this, this is where I'm going to give it the information so it knows what to produce. So again, in this, we're prompted to select a process area. We know it's going to be project, and this defines some of the options downstream that are going to make our lives easier. Okay, so click and continue, and we are in the Scaled Reports workflow. You can see the editor behind us, but there's this new panel over here, the scaled report settings. And this gives us all of the information that we need to be able to generate our scaled report right from this page. So project is a process area, we know that. The example record is there. And so all of these things determine which data displays as a preview on the canvas and how the table is mapped back to the parent record. In this case, as we're drawing this, we want this all to feed off of this project record. So this, if we draw charts in here, if there's a chart that we're drawing that requires a record as part of its definition, it will consume or inherit this record that we've set over here. And we'll get into that in just a little bit. But going down, we can see some other information here, reports to be generated, the table mapping, the format, the refresh frequency, and the card style. Things that we were used to seeing that we saw in the old process, it's all now just centralized in this one place, in addition to drawing the charts here. So again, let's, for the sake of the demo, do a really simple, let's draw the field. So or the name, sorry. So we'll select the field selector chart. Give it a table, project, PM project. I'll save that. Okay, so now we see the concepts that we mentioned before. 180 and 360 feedback is the project name, and it is in here by default, and it can't be changed. And that is because we've already set it here in our kind of global scaled report settings for this scaled report. So if ever in the future we wanted to see our preview keyed off of a different project record, we could go change it here and the charts would update. So for the sake of this, we'll keep going, and we want to draw the name. And for the sake of contrast, just to know that it's different from our 1.7 version, we'll style that one like that. Okay. So here's what we have. We're just about ready to generate them, but we have some other information to feed it. If we did want to generate it just as it is, we could do that right now. You can access this panel at any time if you have the proper permission. So you can edit this before you start building charts, after, whenever. Same thing here. I want to, if we didn't do anything, it would generate 187 records. I want to bring that down a little bit. So we'll say only generate the status project status reports where the manager is Gary. And Gary, that will produce 27 records. I can collapse that and get it out of the way and keep going. So again, table mappings, all of this start with a default value that is keyed off of the project process area. And again, this just defines how other charts with other tables ultimately map back to the sysid of records on the PM project table. So we'll assume those are all good for this demo. Format is a slide deck. Refresh frequency is on demand, and the card style defaults to the first one. So we are good to generate 27 records. We can close this if we want, but we are good to go. So we will do it. Generating the thumbnail. We get some information, thinking. And then we see that we'll be redirected to the scaled report overview. So here we are, we did it successfully, and we'll wait for these to load up. And here we are. So same concept. We know this is the title of the project. We'll go and view this one, and it matches the format with that name. And the same for other records. Okay. So let's go through the same exercise. Say somebody a stakeholder wanted to make a change to this report. That's fine. Let's look at how we would do that in the 1.8 version. So notice that there is this new link up here called Scaled Reports, and that is the quick route to any of the scaled reports. And you land here on the page where there is some information about what we've created. We know this one is the one we want to edit. There's a little thumbnail there, and it shows the number of reports that are generated. So if we click into this, we're back here. This looks familiar. I have edit access, so this is where I would go to make the change. And this is where the blueprint lives for this scaled report. So we'll edit that there. And we can make our change. We'll make this one 2. And just from here, we're ready to generate again. You know, if you wanted to, you could take a peek at this. All of the information here remains the same. So we're good to generate, and it will show us the loading indicator. And here we are, it's accepting our updates, and we'll give this just a second. And here they are. Let's take a look. And they've got our new format. So that is a look at how the 1.8 version centralizes the ScaledReport's workflow, and hopefully that makes it easier to create, edit, and generate the scaled reports.